Ready? My name is Mick, founder of Mick's Got No Nuts. Welcome to my new series, Road to a Nut-Free Launch. Okay, so about a month and a half ago, my food scientist and I came up with this formulation of the protein bar. It's the official prototype that you see online that I hold up frequently in my hand. My job is to source all of the ingredients in preparation for the production run at the manufacturing facility. Now, of course, I'm posting content and promoting the idea of the protein bar online, get some following in preparation for the first production run. But my primary job, like I said, is getting the ingredients ordered and sent. The general timeline of the protein bar's production, right now we're in mid to late May. On June 16th, I will be going to the manufacturing facility, which, by the way, does not process peanuts or tree nuts, in case you were wondering, where we're going to test the formulation, the current formulation, on their machinery to make sure it all runs smoothly ahead of the first official production run. We don't want to do a production run right away because we want to make sure the formulation can be made at their facility. So what we're calling the test day is on June 16th. And then we're going to be able to do the full production run, assuming June 16th goes well. We'll do the full production run a few weeks, maybe a month or two after that test day. So the majority of my days the last month and a half have been sourcing these ingredients. So this episode 1 of Road to a Nut-Free Launch, I want to kind of show you my process for sourcing ingredients, what it's looking like, what my plans are, how I'm navigating all these suppliers and ingredients. So let's get into it. So what you see on my screen right here are all the ingredients that are currently in my protein bar. Now, when I'm looking for suppliers, it's nice when a supplier of a particular ingredient can actually supply multiple ingredients because it's going to save money on shipping. And they might be more inclined to give me friendly deals if I can order multiple ingredients from that one location rather than just a bunch of one-off orders. So what we have here at the top, we have our 3 proteins. We have whey protein isolate, milk protein concentrate, and calcium caseinate. I'm going to highlight these in a slightly different color. So that's not the right highlight. So I'm not going to say the name of the supplier, but I want you to know, if you are listening and are going to be interested in buying the product, all of these ingredients are being sourced from facilities that don't process nuts, don't process peanuts or tree nuts. I have allergen statements to back that up. So we're good, and I trust these suppliers. Now, the 3 proteins that you see up top, they are coming from one singular supplier. All right, I won't say their name, but they're the same supplier. So when I made the order, it's all from them. Now, these proteins, it's funny because when I first started sourcing ingredients, I thought protein was going to be the most difficult ingredient to source. Now, I have 3 different ones because my food scientists like to combine the 3 of them for certain quality and taste and texture characteristics that I would not have known to combine. So this is good. And the supplier obviously supplies all 3. Now, like I was saying, when I started sourcing ingredients, I was concerned that protein was going to be tough because you see every product nowadays has protein in it. And I'm like, am I going to be able to order protein if I'm just a small player in a big ocean? But thankfully, the supplier that I ordered from was very kind to small startups. They understood that we are looking for small amounts of protein. It was if we get bigger, like large companies like Starbucks and their protein coffee, those are gigantic orders that are being tough to fulfill right now. But with the small players, they're like, yeah, I have a bag of protein. It's no big deal. So protein was actually pretty easy. Now, expensive, yes, but protein was pretty easy. They came from the same supplier, and I actually have already ordered, and they've been delivered to my manufacturing facility already. So there are hundreds of kilograms of protein sitting at the facility just waiting for me to arrive, which is nice. So protein's a big thumbs up. Yay. Yay and yay. Oops, not yay, yay. Collagen is the next ingredient I'll talk about. So I'll do this blue. Collagen is interesting because there aren't a ton of kosher collagen options. And the reason why that matters is that my facility requires all ingredients to be OU kosher certified. Now, that's not a requirement for me and the Mick's Got No Nuts brand, but that is a requirement of my manufacturer. So if you are kosher and you're listening to this, the bar will actually be consisting of all kosher ingredients. I just won't have that UOU certification on the wrapper just yet. That's just a little bit of a process and a little expensive. So just FYI for you kosher folks. But regardless, we were able to find a collagen supplier that is also Orthodox Union kosher. And that was very easy. They're like, here's the order, here you go. And I'm happy to report that the collagen has also been delivered to the manufacturing facility and is waiting for me to arrive there in a few weeks. Supplier number 2, huzzah. Okay, I'm actually gonna skip down. I'm gonna skip all these for a second and I'm gonna go down to these 3. These are actually the chocolate ingredients of the bar. We have the cocoa powder, we have the unsweetened chocolate, and we have the semi-sweet chocolate chips. The chocolate chips are obviously just the little chunks of chocolate inside the bar. So the unsweetened chocolate and the cocoa powder, my food scientist opted for these 2 ingredients because they help with the chocolate flavor of the bar, while the chips are more obviously chocolate, but more for texture. The reason why I'm talking about these right now is because this is the next sort of supplier progress that I've made. These are from supplier number 3, I'll call. And I have not yet ordered these 3 ingredients. So this is where the hiccups start. These top 4 ingredients were really nice, super easy. They're already at the facility. And now we're getting into the hiccups of the sourcing process. So there's about 3.5 weeks left between now and test day. I need to make sure I get all the ingredients to the facility before test day, because I can't go to test day on June 16th and not all the ingredients are there. It would be a complete wash of a day. This would be like worst case scenario. Everything would be bumped by a few months. I got to get this there. I have a supplier lined up for these. And what I just learned recently were that the unsweetened chocolate and the chocolate chips can be sent to the facility relatively quickly, what they call lead time. The lead time is like a week. So I could make the order June 8th or 9th. It would get there pretty comfortably by June 16th. Now, I don't want to wait that long, but that's the reality. The interesting part is that the cocoa powder takes a little longer. And the reason why that's tough is because the lead time, instead of being a week, turns into like 3 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks, they said, because it comes from a different facility. So I kind of have to juggle timelines here. For these 4 ingredients, and my initial plan for all the ingredients was to order the full amount I would need for a test day run and a production day run. However, and this was successful for these 4, but because the cocoa powder, if I order at a full amount, will take longer to arrive to the facility, I am actually going to be ordering a smaller amount of these 3 ingredients to make sure it gets there faster. Said differently, if I order the full production quantity amount of these 3 chocolate ingredients, there is a risk that not every one of them would get there because they have to draw from another warehouse because of the quantity I'm ordering. However, if I order a smaller quantity, they have that on hand. It will get there faster and it will get there for test day. What that means though is that I'll have to make another order for production run after test day. But as long as we have all the ingredients for test day, I can then feel comfortable ordering what I need to order for the production run. The test day is surprisingly more important than the production run because I need to make sure everything gets there to make sure the formulation works. Once we make sure the formulation works, then we can schedule production runs. I also need to make sure my food scientist has time to get to the facility with me, and she's a very busy professional, and I would lose like 2 months of progress if I don't have all these ingredients in time. So I'm actually ordering a small amount now and a larger amount later. Will this be more expensive? Yes, but it mitigates the risk of the whole order not getting there. So is this a yay? Kinda yay. Kinda yay. Kinda yay. Not thrilled about it, but I can live with the fact that it's there. So I'm actually going to be placing the order pretty soon. It should get there in time for testing. Now we have another situation. So originally, I'll highlight these. Originally, I had supplier 4 all ready to go for these ingredients. They were ready to go. My supplier number 4's contact told me they had them available and they can be ordered. I needed to make sure that my facility approves all the ingredients. That's another point I should have mentioned too, that when I'm sourcing these ingredients, I need to acquire documentation for all of these ingredients, send them to the manufacturer and make sure that the manufacturer says, okay, we approve of the ingredient you're trying to send us, you can order. Pretty easy with the top 4, like I talked about. They approved the chocolate. Unfortunately, these are a bit tougher because the supplier 4 is just taking longer to acquire the documentation than I would have liked. And it's making me a little nervous here. Also, supplier 4 just told me that they don't have allulose anymore. Great, I need a pivot. So the pivot right now is that we are actually onto supplier number 5 for allulose. And this was a 2-day pivot. Luckily, the manufacturer approved allulose from supplier 5. Supplier 5 got their documentation to me like this. Supplier 4 is taking a long time. And I am ready to make order. Lead time is about a week, 2 weeks at most. That's a lot of buffer between now and test day. I'm gonna say, phew, dodged a bullet. Because if I could not find supplier 5, I would have to rely on supplier 4's replenishment of allulose. But thankfully I didn't have to do that. So we're good there. Now we're on to the last 7 ingredients here, all from supplier 4. I don't have good backup options for supplier 4. And they don't have all the documentation in place so I can get my manufacturer's approval. However, the sun shone down on me today. You might think, oh, did they send the documentation? No. But what I found out was that my manufacturer does not require the documentation for test day. They require the documentation for the production run. So after going back and forth a few times with the manufacturer, asking them what they need to see for me to order these ingredients, they told me, we have enough information to run test day with you, but we cannot approve a production run until we have the documentation. In other words, we can test the ingredients on our machinery. You're not allowed to sell it. We're not making you sellable products, which is fine because again, the production run will not occur until a few weeks, month or 2 after test day. So for test day, I need to just order all of these ingredients and I will continue waiting for that documentation, which I'm confident will come. It's just taking a little while. Supplier 4's point of contact told me that they got to ping their documents department. They got to send over audits. It's a whole process. But the point what I'm trying to make is that I can order the appropriate quantities of these 7 ingredients for test day only, but I still have to wait for the production run quantities. So, point is, we're actually kind of in the same boat here. So I'll do ordering, small amount, larger amount later. And all these ingredients are relatively cheap. The chocolate and the protein and the collagen are the most expensive. These 7 are pretty cheap besides maybe avocado oil and cocoa butter. So we'll be ordering some now just to make sure that I get it for test day and then hopefully get the documentation in preparation for production run. The reason why I'm willing to do this is because if test day does not occur, I booked test day back in March. If I were to rebook test day now, that would delay the entire process by like 3 months, 2 or 3 months at least. My food scientist books 2 to 3 months out. The manufacturing facility books a month or 2 out. I can't do test day without my food scientist with me. Therefore, I gotta get test day now. I'm getting a lot of traction on social media. People excited about the bar. I don't want to wait another 3 months. I've already been waiting for so long. So we're gonna order a small amount pretty soon and order a larger amount later. So for status, I'll just say meh, but good. Meh, but good. And then the last ingredient, water. This was actually a funny one because I didn't know, and it's obvious now, but I had to ask my facility, do I have to supply water to you guys? Do I have to send a truck full of water to your facility? And they're like, no, dummy. We have water on site. You don't have to order that. So, phew, water will be at the facility. Huzzah. That's kind of where I'm at in supplying ingredients. The proteins and the collagen was really easy. I acquired the documentation very quickly. I made the order. It's already at the facility right now. Allulose, I was able to find a backup supplier very quickly, and I'm ready to make the order. It's approved by my manufacturer. The 7 ingredients here, I'm still awaiting documentation. I'm not allowed to do a production run, but I can do test day. Lead time is about a week or 2. So I'm gonna make this order pretty soon, but this was a good revelation that I had today. And then the last ingredients that I have are the chocolate ingredients. These take a little while to get there, so I need to make the order soon, but that's kind of where we're at right now. For ingredients, my plan is obviously test day on June 16th. Once June 16th occurs and the formulation is successful at the facility, I'm going to be opening up sales to my early access group, which is pretty much just my email list. If you want to be involved in the pre-launch process, I highly recommend going to mixedgotnonuts.com, putting in your email, support the Nut Free mission. Putting in your email is the best way to get the most up-to-date information on what's going on with Mixed Got No Nuts. All right, I hope you enjoyed my little rundown of all the ingredients and what's been going on behind the scenes. This was episode 1 of the Road to a Nut Free launch. Again, if you are not subscribed to my email list, please go to mixedgotnonuts.com, put in your email, support the Nut Free mission. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and now TikTok, fun enough. I have no experience with TikTok, so that's just a Wild West for me. But regardless, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.
He's just standing there, menacingly!